Okay, so the previous one that you saw, I was not happy with at all. So I've completely chucked it away and I've started a new one. So I changed the pattern. So the pattern I used on the first one, that was the shape of the little panels. And then I changed it to something else completely. So you'll see the shape, size, and everything is different on it. So the other one's the shape I just couldn't quite get right. I wasn't happy with it. I could use it, but I wasn't happy with the shape, and that for me is just not going to cut it. So I've made a new one now. Now if you look at the side profile of this helmet, let me get it to the side, it looks a lot more authentic. The top looks good. Everything looks much better on it. And one thing I've noticed with the samurai helmets is it tends to be rather flat at the back and pointy on the side in the front. I think that's just that's what I've seen from them. And this one happened to pick that shape up quite nicely. So I'm happy with this shape. I'm going to go on now and just fine tune it. I'm going to work on the overlap in the center a little bit. It's just protruding a little bit too much for me. So I'm going to work on that and see if I can't refine that up a little bit. So yes, that's how it's looking so far. I'm very chuffed with it. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to carry on with. I'm going to put more holes here, and I'm going to see if I'm going to roll the ridge a little bit to give those protrusions along the edges here. Otherwise it's looking good. Alright, so with the brim of the Kabuto helmet, it flares up a little bit on the edges. So what I've done here is I've cut a straight piece of steel, just a rectangular straight piece of steel, and I flared out the edges here for where the lower sections will go on and the visor and so on. You could, I did this a long, more difficult way, as I cut a straight piece and I flared these edges out. I'll show you how I did that. The other way to do it would actually be to cut a sort of a crescent curved piece so you can fit it on. And then you can, you know, that'll work best, and you have to work it less. You'll just have to flare the edges up here so it'll flush onto the helmet. However, I chose to do this way just so I can, this one I get a bit more better control over the fit of how to put it together. So yeah, so how I did this is I used my cross peen hammer, just one of those, and over the horn of the anvil I was striking it across the, so what I'm doing here is, you'll see on the inside here, is I'm actually spreading the material out as well as curving it. So I'm curving it over the horn this way, so I'm curving it down this way and spreading the material. And by spreading it, I am expanding the lower brim here, which means it's going to be wider, so that's why it'll have that curve on the bottom. So it'll flare out. And yes, it's a lot more effort to do something like that, but I get a bit more finer control, and I don't know, it just looks like a better transition on that. That's just how I'm doing it for now. Generally I wouldn't do it like that, but it's because I'm learning as I'm going. So that's how I'm doing it with this helmet. So that's what I've done. I've done this, I was just trying it out to see if it works, and so far it's working very nicely with the helmet. And so I'm sticking with it. I'm going to carry on using this method for this, and then for the actual other pieces, because they are they also flare out, I'm just going to cut curved pieces of steel to go onto there. So that will work, because that I don't need to, that will be easier to work out. They don't have to be worked so much. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing with this. The next part I'll be moving on to fitting it onto the helmet itself. Right, so progress of the Kabuto helm. I have the brim set on. Took a long time to get that to fit. Now it's fitted in there with the bit of a flare out, which I'm gonna make flare out a little bit more. I just wanted to get it to fit, so I've got this rim up here which lines up very nicely with these ribs up here, all the way around where the overlap is in the back. So still more work to be done, still want to flare it out a little bit more, but coming along very nicely. Very nice.